Wow, the ground is frozen. I'm sure I can ride it fast sometimes, but not every time. It's nearly impossible to carry any type of speed if you stay on that main line. This is where everything went wrong for me. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we are going to be riding in Squamish, an absolutely epic track, and this video is gonna be filled up with a ton of tips. We're gonna be talking about body position but also line choices, and I'm even gonna be telling you about that gnarly crash I had a few months ago. We're gonna be looking at what happened and hopefully I can ride that again successfully. Let's go. And this is where the fun starts. Before I ride, I always check my bike, especially tire pressure, and a lot of you ask me what I run. Well, I've got a set of Maxxis double down casing, DHR on the back, Asagai on the front, and I'm gonna be riding 22 PSI on the back, 20 on the front, and I'm 65 kilos. Okay, dropping in. And here is our first line. Wow, the ground is frozen. That's gonna make an interesting video because line choices depend on many things such as your speed, your skill, your commitment, but also on the conditions. And right now the conditions are less than ideal. The ground is frozen, which means that your tire knobs can't bite onto the dirt properly to provide you with the best traction. So we have to adapt. We have to adapt on the speed, but also the lines we commit to, which brings us to our very first line, this right corner, and let's go. So this video is gonna be helping you a lot, whether you ride this exact track in Squamish or your favorite trail, wherever it is in the world. If you ride cross country, enduro, downhill, if you compete or not, those tips are gonna be very valuable. And me personally, I feel like they've helped me to be a smoother and faster rider over the years. So first line we're gonna check out is this nice right-hander. As you can see, there's two obvious lines coming into the corner, but the corner only really has one line and a super flat exit, which is gonna make it very difficult to carry a good speed out, especially since there is not much support onto the bump. That inside line is probably the easiest one to come in with speed. The problem is that then the corner becomes really tight and it's gonna be very difficult to be consistent and get any speed out. To me, it is very obvious that the upper line, which is at outside, if you can set up wide, you're gonna be able to open the corner, have a way better look at your exit, be more consistent with your braking, have a better riding position, and surely carry a good speed out. So when riding a track, that's really what I'm looking at. I want to come into a corner a little bit slower but carry a good speed out. That way I can save some time, but also, and most importantly, save some energy and also make less mistake. Let's try the two lines so you can judge by yourself which one is quickest. Wow, it's so icy. Yeah, we are going to be very careful today because the dirt doesn't really have any traction. When I took the inside line here, I was able to come pretty quick, and I felt I did a good job, honestly, braking enough for the corner, looking outside and carrying speed, but I felt like I really had to try hard to leave the track with a bit of momentum. So now let's see the upper line. That was much better. Yeah, it definitely felt faster for me. It's I think it's also will be more consistent. I can pretty ride that upper line fast every single time. Was that inside line, I'm sure I can ride it fast sometimes, but not every time. Let's do it again. So I'm actually going inside at that first corner because the exit speed is actually better. Okay, before we talk about our line number 2, let me introduce my all new clothing partner. As some of you have guessed, I am now riding for Norrøna. Norrøna is a brand from Norway. They've been around for 100 years and they focus on high quality gear for outdoors, skiing, hiking, trail running, but also mountain biking. And this is the all new ski button line. I've been super impressed by the product. It's stylish, it fits well, it's high quality. It's been awesome. I also really like their everyday clothes, such as the warm street jacket I was using this morning while setting up the bike. I think it's gonna be a great partnership. I'm also gonna go and visit the brand in Norway sometimes in May and do some project with them. It's gonna be really cool. Now let's go back to riding. So this second zone we're gonna check out right now, right here, is really interesting. Let me tell you why. Above we got the corners that we worked on earlier, where it was really important to carry good speed. So following that, you've got a section that's fairly easy. There's not much going on, and there's one very obvious line, which is that lower line. Everybody almost rides it, and you can carry good speed. Then you come right there, you can brake really hard, lose a lot of your speed to set up for the left-hander. So the problem with this corner is that it's nearly impossible to carry any type of speed if you stay on that main line. There's a bunch of rocks, no support at the exit, and you're gonna be losing all your flow. You'll have to pedal on the exit, and that will make it really difficult. And here's my neighbor Jack McLollipop that just read my take number 25th.
It's not my fault. Just because I'm so good looking, I put you off.
Well, Jack, we were just chatting about which line is wrong. So come and show us which line you choose.
You want a demo?
Yeah.
I can show you the wrong line. Okay, I'll show you the wrong one.
Nice! Thank you! That was actually pretty good. He managed to carry a decent speed, but he came in really slow, so I guess that makes it easier to not lose speed into that corner. Whereas if you go really fast, I see it like nearly impossible to carry good speed out, so let me show you the line I think is best. So the main line is right here. As you can see, it's super sharp. The corner is like 120 degrees. So it's very difficult. Once again, no support at the exit. Whereas here, if you go on the right hand side of the tree, you can really open the corner, slow down smoothly, and carry good speed out. So it's the same ideas than the previous line we saw. I think this is better, but there is one issue. Let's go check it out. The problem is right there with the setup. Here you got a nice patch of dirt with a compression where you're gonna be able to really slow down and regain control of the bike before setting up for the corner. But the problem is that section here, because it's very off camera with a bunch of roots. Normally they'll be quite slippery but completely fine. But a day like today, the dirt is frozen, which is gonna make it way more dangerous than it needs to be. So I'm gonna first do the inside line and then I'll consider doing or not that outside line. Well, that was actually a bit faster than I thought. Jack stayed in the inside, so he was kind of stuck. He didn't have any space to really move and set up properly and efficiently for the corner. Whereas me, I chose to lose a little bit of speed on the top. I controlled my speed, so I was able to do a little bunny up towards the outside. I jumped over the rock as close as I could from the tree. So as you can see, my line is a couple feet more on the outside, which round up my corner a little bit nicer I didn't get stuck into that compression right here, so my bike didn't lose speed. I didn't try to stand up. So I think that was a pretty good line, to be honest. It's a good alternative, but I want to try my outside line and see how much better it is. Let's go. Wow, it's really sketchy with the ground right now. It's so frozen. Like the tire knobs, like even though I'm riding Maxi Sasagai with 20 psi 3C grip, the tire knobs can't even dig on the dirt because it's like concrete. This section of track is super interesting, but it's not about line choices because it's super narrow. It's more about skills and technique. As you can see, there is a bunch of big compression, and you find those compression everywhere in Squamish because a lot of people ride. And what happens when you got those compression like that, especially when it's flat, your bike wants to slow down. Your bike is gonna go deep into the travel, suspension is gonna suck up a lot of the impact, and your body is gonna have to fight that energy. So you're gonna have to engage a lot more your core, your arms, your leg, your lower back, and not only you're gonna lose speed, you're gonna create for yourself a lot of fatigue. So in order to go faster, save some energy, I'm gonna approach that section with a lot more speed, and I'm gonna try to avoid and miss as many compression as possible. In this case, since I can't really go too much left or right, I'm gonna jump the first one, and I'm gonna be able to land around here where there's about a bike length. Bike is gonna compress, and if I do things properly, I'll be able to jump again the next one. So I'm basically gonna turn 4 compressions into only 2. Let's give it a go. Nice. Okay, back on track. Okay, next session. This is super cool. It's like such a downhill segment, a bunch of inside line, outside line. That's gonna be really cool. So far we've been chatting about line choices, which is obviously very important, but your riding technique and the way you look at the terrain is equally as important. Scanning the terrain is something that beginner riders don't do enough, and a lot of very good riders out there could improve their riding by doing it more. So scanning the terrain meaning you look right in front of you and far in front of you at all times. So your eyes go up and down the entire time you ride. So you know what's coming and you can adapt and react quick to what's directly in front of you. That's the first thing. In order to scan the terrain and look ahead easily, it's always better to be in a taller position. That way, that just makes it easier to have your eyes looking forward. Now, if you are in an attack position, that gives you a lot of quality for, cornering and getting traction on the tires and all that sort of thing, but that makes it harder to look ahead and anticipate and pick up the best line. So you have to find a compromise, and ideally, you always move on your bike so you can be in an attack position when you need to and be in a more neutral position when you need to look ahead a little bit more and make better choices with your line. Now, if you look at World Cup riders like Loic Bruni, Jackson Goldstone, Finn Isles, when you see them on their final run, they've already been riding that track 10 times, 12 times over the weekend. They know every single inches of the track. So they are always on that attack position, trying to go as fast as they can, but that's because they know exactly what's coming and they know what line is the fastest. So they no longer have to decide, should I go left of the tree or right of the tree? By the time they're racing, they already know what works best, and that's why they always in that attack position. But even though, if you look at their eyes, I'm sure you could see that they look really forward just to make sure that nothing has changed on the track, make sure that their braking points are correct. Now, if you look at enduro racers, especially if they ride a stage that either they've never ridden before or a stage they've got only one practice on, they usually ride on a much taller position so they can look ahead better and anticipate and still pick up the better lines. And that's the same approach that I have when I ride a trail that I don't know super well. So this is a track that, you know, I've ridden a few times, but sometimes I don't go out here for over 6 months. My first time riding it, I'm not gonna be in that attack position at all time. I'm just gonna be standing a little bit taller so I can look ahead and see what's changed on the track and where I should go. That section is so sick, it's so steep, and being able to look ahead, pick up the good lines, open the corner, and then stay on the inside, be hard on the brake, get the next inside. It's a really cool feeling. Big shout out to the trail builders and people doing maintenance out here, because this is really fun. Another corner and another line choice. There is an inside line, which is an obvious line to most people. You can see it's been ridden way more, so it's pretty well eroded, and because it's so eroded, that makes it even more tricky. Now the rut is quite deep, and as you're trying to slow down, there is now a big compression right before the corner. So normally you slow down a lot before the corner, and before you enter your corner you already let go the brakes so you can focus on your position, carry good speed out. But now it's no longer the case because of the compression and the erosion. Now you got that new outside line, which I really like. It's super cool because you can come in really fast, brake later, and then once you settle up, actually even above myself, you can see the rest of the track and the corner is not nearly as sharp. So you can come in fast, brake hard later, and let go your brakes way earlier than if you took that inside line, and you'll carry a ton of speed out. Let's give it a go. Setting up outside on the brakes, and I let go. Another inside line. Up. Oh, it's fun. Oh, it's so sick. And I go slow because I'm crossing a track. That was awesome. Now let's go to another trail. We had a massive crash, so I'm gonna be able to walk you through what happened, demonstrate what I did, and hopefully do it perfectly this time. Okay, so here is where I had that super gnarly crash. So we're gonna have a look. But as you can imagine, I was flying. This is where everything went wrong for me. I did a huge mistake, but the biggest mistake I've done was to ride this fast by myself. I was completely alone, and fortunately it wasn't worse. I hit my head really good. I was wearing my half lead helmet. It was a specialized tactic and I hit the side of my head, but fortunately I didn't get knocked out, didn't have any concussion symptom, and I feel super fortunate. I also hit my hip really hard and I got a massive hematoma, but fortunately it was very painful, but it wasn't broken, because if I had shattered my pelvis or my hip, I would not have been able to leave the forest like I did by myself. Damaged my left shoulder with a separated AC joint. Sore wrist, but this, you know, was manageable. But you know, the big thing is if the injuries had been any worse, maybe I would have stayed in the forest and no one would have found me for a little bit if I wasn't able to reach my phone. And there's a lot of places in Squamish that are out of cell phone service, so it's really important to go and ride with someone whenever you take risk. Tell your family, your friends where you're gonna be riding, and you know, it's something I have to be better at it. I know it's part of the job, but you know, I felt very confident. I was riding my Icano 2CF and I was doing laps on laps. I was having so much fun on the bike, I kind of forgot a little bit the risk. And this was a good reminder that, you know, it can happen anytime, even when you feel like you can't make mistakes. And I'm gonna show you exactly what happened with that jump, but I had done it so many times. Not once I was close to make a mistake, and suddenly I just did, and I ended up down there. So yeah, let's have a look at what happened. Here is where I made a big mistake. You've got a massive compression here on the trail, and the first few times I rode the trail, I would do the jumps before, brake a little bit, push on the compression, jump out and keep on riding. It was really fun, but it was not the fastest line. Or actually the best rhythm, I should say, because the line is the same. The best rhythm would have been to do the jumps, use that roller here, preload the bike and pull a bunny up over the compression, which is what I ended up doing. A bunny up is when you compress the bike, so you push on the ground, leave the front wheel using the energy of the suspension and of your body, and then scoop the pedals with your feet to lift the rear of the bike and essentially jump. So as you can see, the takeoff is perfectly flat. In order to make the gap, you need to do a proper bunny up, and to do a proper bunny up, you need to prepare, which means you need to come in, keep the wheels on the ground, push on the bike and take off. What I did wrong is that I was going so fast. I scrubbed the first step down, I came in basically no brake onto that perfect right-hander, and the little jump before, I slightly overshot it. Just by a little bit, but I thought it was a cougar, but it's just a stick. By overshooting that little jump, my bike compressed later than planned and I missed the timing. I wasn't able to keep my wheels on the ground on that roller, and as a consequence of this, I didn't have the time to preload the bike and do a bunny up over the gap. I ended up missing the bunny up. I still did the half bunny up, and I cased my front wheel on the landing that we'll see after, and that's where I started to lose control. But until that point, I thought I had everything under control until I didn't. So the gap itself is only like 10-12 feet long, but because I landed a little bit nose heavy, and once again I thought I was completely fine, that kind of put me off balance. And as you can see, the trail is quite narrow, there is a bunch of trees, but by making that slight mistake, even though I hang on to the bar perfectly, that put me offline only by maybe 5-10 centimeters, and that was enough for me to go and clip the tree that's behind. By the time I clipped the tree, I didn't even slow down because I thought I was completely fine. So let's look. I ended up going full speed without having the time or the desire to slow down because I didn't think I was gonna crash, and I ended up clipping the tree right here with my right hand out of nowhere. I didn't see it coming, and as soon as I clipped the tree, that just threw me on my left hand side, and I ended up somewhere right there. So I went from maybe 40 km/h to 0 in a couple of meters, so I took all the impact on my shoulder, hip, and you know, I feel extremely fortunate that I was relatively fine. But now I haven't gone here in a little bit, so it's good to see what happened, and you know, some things that I thought I would never make a mistake on, well, I did. So now let's go back to it. I'm gonna do what I used to do, which is pushing the compression, and then I'm gonna do again the gap, and hopefully this time it goes smoother. So let's go. Okay, let's roll that compression. Yeah, it's actually really sketchy to roll the compression if you have any type of speed, and the problem is that going through those first jumps, that gives you a lot of momentum going into the rest of the trail, so you kind of have to do that gap. Okay, now let's do that gap. Hopefully I do it properly. Huh, I was going slow. I guess I was nervous. That happens, especially after a big crash like that. It's always tricky to get the confidence back. Okay, second attempt of the gap. A bigger push this time. Nice. That was much better. I actually applied a fair amount of braking at the landing in order to regain control of the bike and be able to use the terrain to my advantage, to push on the suspension, compress, and get a nice bunny up. And then I was able to let roll and carry good speed, and it felt safe. That was sick! Hard on the brakes, up, drop the head, and actually Owen brought a saw, so we're gonna get rid of this because it's dangerous. One of the many reasons why you want to look ahead, not just to pick up the best line, but also to avoid hazards like this one. That was so fun. I'm gonna go back up, probably tomorrow because it's getting dark, take my spin drift down a lap, and I'm gonna try to hit every line pretty well. Hopefully it won't be as icy, so stay tuned. Thanks, Mom. Okay, I'm gonna try to hit all the lines we checked out. Hopefully the dirt is not as slippery. Okay, inside. High line. That was good. Yeah, it's melted a little bit. That was pretty good. The dirt is definitely much better than yesterday. Okay, second part. Hard on the inside here, almost missed it. Whew. Here I set up outside just to get less of a compression. Outside again. I went a bit too much inside here. Sick. Onto double trouble. Oh, it's so sick. Love that trail. Thanks Jackson and the boys. Oh, it's better without the tree. Oh, it's so fun. That was awesome. Thanks a lot everyone for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it. So let me know in the comments below what tips was the most useful for you. And hopefully you're gonna be out there shredding your local trails. As always, to support the channel, like, subscribe, comment, and make sure you give a look to the description down below. There is all the link to the product I'm using, including Neurona, covers, obviously propane. There is all my affiliates and code. So that's where you want to look if you want to save some money. I'll see you next week.